Our cats went from this to this in less than a week. In this video, I will share what worked best for us during this period. So first of all, we prepared a separate space for each cat. And you don't really need to have a huge apartment. Like for example, we only have one bedroom apartment, but you could still organize the space in a way that every cat has their special place where they can hide if they don't feel like exploring the apartment already and chatting with the other cat. It's also ideal to give the second cat the place that has fewer items with the sense of the first cat. For us, it was really easy because they were arriving only 6 hours apart, so there were plenty of spaces that were not yet explored by the first cat. When the first kitten arrived, he immediately started hiding underneath the sofa behind me, so we made this a safe space for the first cat, while we allocated the second cat to the most remote area from the sofa, which turned out to be the bathroom. So Snickers, that you can see here lying on the table, was actually starting his journey in our apartment from the bathroom. We gave them separate litter boxes as well as separate bowls with food and water so that they don't have to interact with each other if they just want to have some food or use the toilet. Don't worry, it will not have to stay like this forever. At some point they will be ready to start using shared litter box. In fact, for us, they started doing it right away. So even though almost every recommendation that you can see online is telling that you have to have more litter boxes than there are cats. So for example, if you have 2 cats, you should have 3 litter boxes, 3 cats, 4 litter boxes, and so on. It's not often the case. Like for us, they started using 1 litter box actually from day 1, and they couldn't care less about the second litter box. However, every cat is different, so we tried to make it as comfortable for them as possible during the first few days. The other takeaway is that there has to be gradual exposure. So you should neither push them into communicating and playing with each other, nor you should get worried and separate them each time they hiss or growl. As long as they are not actually attacking each other, jumping on each other, that could be one of their ways how they establish their boundaries. So don't panic right away, let them tolerate each other for a few minutes before separating them. And then repeat this cycle again and again. So for us, they would spend, for example, 5 minutes in a shared room, growling and hissing at each other. Then we would separate them into separate rooms, play with them, pet them, give them food, let them sleep, and then repeat the process. In addition to that, sometimes we would take the toys of one cat and play with the other cat in the separate room with those toys, so that they become more familiar with the sense of the other cat. Another advice that we've seen multiple times on the internet is that cats should have shared positive experiences. Like for example, you should take your cats to have food together so that then they associate the presence of the other cat with a positive experience of having food. However, this advice didn't really help us. Maybe we, introduced them too early, because I think accidentally, instead of giving positive association towards each other, we gave them negative association towards food. On the other hand, what seemed to be useful was playing with them in a shared zone. At first, I would even use 2 separate toys in each hand to play with them with their respective toys and then swapping them occasionally. One of the kittens would still hiss at the other's toy, but would still get too distracted and excited to play that they would forget about the presence of the enemy. Also, you need to be calm, and not just in terms of waiting for the results, but also in terms of how you behave around them. For the first few interactions, the cat will be super focused on each other and will be scared of all other movements. If you will be freaking out, running around, this will make them even more stressed. For example, I used to sit on the floor in between them, not facing any of the cats in particular, making their potential fight more difficult to organize, and they would have the human that feeds and pets them as an obstacle. What also helped in our case is giving the more scared cat a high ground. At some point we've noticed that one of the cats is getting curious and is ready to communicate, while the other is still more defensive, which is still fine because it would have been weird to expect that both cats would fall in love with each other at the same time. At this point we introduce a cat tree to the shared zone closer to the more scared cat place. Having this high scratching post would make him tolerate the presence of the other cat to the extent that he would even fall asleep in front of him. So here are Twix and Snickers 1 week later.